In the skies over France, the Royal Air Force is fighting a losing battle. As the German war machine continues its blitzkrieg through Europe, inexperienced Hurricane pilots face off against the already battle-hardened aces of the Luftwaffe. During this time known as the Phony War, one young fighter pilot from New Zealand will become famous and make history by scoring his 5th kill and becoming the first RAF ace of World War II. March 26, 1940. Flying Officer Edgar Kain leads a flight of 3 Hawker Hurricanes on a defensive patrol. Cobber is flying his personal aircraft, P for Paddy. After crossing the border into Germany at a height of 20,000 feet, Cobber spots 9 aircraft above him. The deadly Messerschmitt Bf-109. He shouts into his microphone at his wingmen, "Messerschmitt's ahead, let's go." The 109s break and begin attacking in pairs, trying to get on the Hurricane's tails. But Cobber has already 3 confirmed victories and knows what he is doing. He pulls his plane hard around and gets the lead 109 in his sights and presses the firing button. Cobber's aircraft shudders as his 8 Browning machine guns roar to life. Edgar James Kain was born in Hastings on June 27, 1918, to Reggie and Nellie Maria. He had 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Keen on planes from a young age, he started flying lessons at the Wellington Aero Club when he was 18, proving himself to be a natural in the air. He quickly obtained his A license, and in 1937 he sailed with his father, mother, and sister Judy to England, where he intended to join the Royal Air Force. After a 10-week training course, he was granted a short service commission for 4 years as an acting pilot officer. He was posted to 73 Squadron, flying the Hawker Fury and later the Gloucester Gladiator. Edgar loved aerobatics, low-level flying, and enjoyed pushing his aircraft right to the limits. This would often land him in trouble with his superiors, at one time even being threatened with an instant dismissal. However, this did little to deter him. Edgar quickly became known as Cobber within his squadron. Cobber is New Zealand slang for mate, and that's how Edgar addressed his squad mates, so the name was flipped back onto him. During this time, Edgar was introduced to a young lady called Joyce Phillips, and the two quickly became good friends. In 1938, 73 Squadron took delivery of 9 of the RAF's brand new fighter plane, the Hurricane. The Hawker Hurricane Mark I is the RAF's first monoplane fighter, entering service before its counterpart, the Spitfire. It is fast, maneuverable, has a closed heated cockpit, retractable undercarriage, and a camouflaged paint scheme, and twice as many guns as the Gladiator, with 8 7.7mm Browning machine guns, a feature which really impressed Edgar. After the outbreak of World War II, 73 Squadron left England and flew to France in order to defend the country against the Nazi threat. Edgar always flew with a Māori tiki attached to his identification tags. It was a gift from his sister Judy that he wore as a good luck charm. Cobber quickly racked up 3 confirmed aerial victories, making him famous in France and England. And although the Air Ministry wouldn't release his name, everyone wanted to know about the young, handsome fighter pilot from New Zealand. Now, Edgar Kain is about to go down in history and achieve a status not seen in the RAF for 20 years. High over Germany, Edgar and his flight are locked up in an epic dogfight. With a flight of Bf-109s, Edgar lines up an enemy plane. A direct hit. The 109 rolls over and spins away in flames. Kill number 4. Cobber then notices 5 more 109s trying to get behind him, and again he turns hard into the attack, lining up the nearest one and giving him a quick burst. Undamaged but scared, the 109 pilot rolls over and dives away. Edgar then lines up another target. This one puts up more of a fight, but Edgar skillfully maneuvers his Hurricane and gives it a long burst. Kill number 5. By now, the sky was full of planes. Edgar lets his guard down for a moment to search for his 2 wingmen, just as he is struck by cannon fire. The canopy is ripped off, and his engine is spewing smoke and flames into the cockpit. Edgar passes out for a few seconds, but quickly comes to, only to find his badly damaged aircraft in a dive. He reaches forward and switches off his engine and pulls back onto the stick to pull out of the dive. He turns back towards France in an effort to gain as much ground as possible. Edgar has nursed a damaged Hurricane back to base before, after once having his left wingtip shot off, but the flames soon become too intense. He releases his harness and rolls the Hurricane over and slips out of the cockpit. Edgar lands in a field just outside of a French town and is picked up by soldiers from the French army. Upon returning to his base, Cobber is relieved to hear that his 2 wingmen have returned safely, each of them scoring a kill of their own. The 2 kills that Edgar scored that day brought his total kills to 5, officially making him the first RAF pilot of World War II to achieve the status of ace. This video was taken shortly after the engagement.
An RAF squadron in France received a telegram of congratulations from the CNC. Good sport indeed, for between them, these men, plus one who was still in the air when these pictures were taken, bagged 5 Nazi planes, definitely shot down in planes, and 2 probably destroyed all in one day. This flying officer shot down 2 of them, and so did the New Zealander known as Cobber. He was himself shot up but landed by parachute, safe except for bits of shrapnel in his foot and hand. Cobber has already accounted for 5 or 6 enemy aircraft.
Cobber would then become a household name in England and France as tales of achievement are reported by the newspapers. The Air Ministry is forced to release his name. Edgar didn't like the attention, as he was constantly followed and photographed by the media while on leave in England, and believed that it would lower squadron morale as they were all fighting just as hard as he was. During his deployment in France, Edgar had been in regular mail correspondence with Joyce, and the 2 started a relationship. They would always meet during his leave visits to England, and one of these visits Edgar proposed to her, to which she said yes. Sadly, the marriage would not happen. On June 7th, after months of heavy fighting, a physically and mentally exhausted Edgar Kain was ordered to return to England for rest. The phony war and the battle for France had been lost, and the evacuation at Dunkirk had just finished. The RAF was preparing to withdraw from France. Edgar was very excited to be seeing Joyce again, and to be getting married. But as he sat in a Miles Magister, getting ready to depart, he noticed a Hurricane sitting next to him, fueled up and ready to go. Edgar couldn't resist putting a show on for his mates. He jumped out of his still-running Magister and ran towards the Hurricane, yelling to his mates, "One more beat up, me lads." To which his squadron leader replied, "Don't do anything foolish, Cobber. Take it quietly." Edgar had always been a daredevil in the cockpit, always putting on aerobatic shows over his airfield and nearby towns and villages. When his squadron of Hurricanes received new 3-bladed propellers to replace the old twin-bladed ones, Edgar remarked that the shorter prop allowed him to get 3 inches closer to the ground on low flybys. Edgar took off and raced back over the men upside down at 20 feet. He then climbed up, turned around, and dived back towards them and did 3 low-speed flick rolls. A dangerous maneuver that was frowned upon by fighter command. On the third flick roll, Edgar's plane stalled and spun to the right. Edgar tried to correct, but his left wing struck the ground and the Hurricane slammed into the ground, bursting into flames. Edgar was killed instantly. He was 21. Edgar Cobber Kain, DFC, died with a total of 17 confirmed aerial victories and at the rank of Flying Officer. He is buried in Colloy War Cemetery in France. The inscription on his tombstone reads, "Cobber Kain, you inspired our little nation. New Zealand remembers. Adieu." This is the control column from the Hurricane that Edgar was flying that day. It is kept at the archive room at the Air Force Museum of New Zealand in Christchurch. Edgar lived an amazing yet short life, and if you want his full story, I recommend you reading his biography. Thanks for watching.